And salutations. It's a pleasure to be here with you, beautiful souls. It's an honor. I know it's been a while since we've done a live, but it's important for me to show up for you. I've had so much going on, and so I'm now here, and I love you dearly. So, first thing I want to talk about is how excited I am for the 7-day clearing that we've been doing. Now, I don't know if you've got the post that I put up on the stories, and it's also on the main page, but it's 7 days of everyone around the world at 8 o'clock, wherever you are in the world, placing your hand on your heart and saying, I clear the path, and then visualizing clearing the path for everyone who's a lit leader of legacy. And the reason why I created that is because Spirit came to me and Spirit said, you know, it's time to move energies out of people's lives that are affecting them and getting in the way of what brings them joy and happiness. And there's so many belief systems, so many belief structures, so many ideas of like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not enough, or I haven't done enough, or, this person said this to me when I was a kid, this thing happened to me, I was in this abusive relationship, or whatever it may be that is causing us not to fully believe and take in the bountiful spirit that we represent, which is here for, living a good life and being happy and being, free and honoring ourselves and loving each other, loving one another, being kind, lifting people, and so much more. Right. And so I created this 7 days thing because Spirit says, if you think about, when we think about energy, right? There's this old saying that where there's more there's more people gathered, there's more power, right? Because each of us are vessels of the divine, operating in our own alignment and energy as our individual selves and our collective selves as a whole source of our Mother, Father, God. So when we are connecting together with a vision or an idea through community, then what happens is you begin to experience not just the power of what you create, but the power that we all create together, right? And I think that's really important when we're connecting into that space, because it's important that we operate in the awareness of how in which we show up for one another and support each other in rising and growing and being successful. And so we've already been on 3 days of this amazing clearing. And I can't begin to tell you how many letters, including my own life and so many things with my wife and everything. We've seen such people being so happy because things are being cleared in their life. And you can actually feel it in the energetic planes that all of us, people in Kenya, China, Egypt, America, all over the world, Morocco, you name it, France, everywhere, Norway, you name it, is doing this 7-day clearing. And it is working, my darlings. It is clearing so much for so many people. So if you haven't gone on to the clearing, you can do it again tonight at 8 o'clock. You go and you just touch your heart and say, I clear the field of energy. And then think about all the people who are growing spiritually, connecting into their truth, honoring their authenticity, and being able to witness and experience the beautiful energy and the powerful energy that we create as a community. Because look, it doesn't, someone said to me a day ago or something, they were like saying something about like my position in life and, oh, I saw you on TV, your position, blah, blah, blah. None of that is important if we're not all growing and evolving together. And that can only happen when we bring our power and energy together. That's why I'm very big on community, very big on seeing, no hierarchy, and really seeing that we are powerful individuals, like utilizing our power and energy to support one another. And it's so much better to support people energetically when you can't get to them physically. Like, of course, I would love to be able to go into everyone's lives and like help them and support them and have the same in return. But we can do that through energy. Kolay gelsin. Çok teşekkürler canım. That's one of my favorite words, kolay gelsin in Turkish. So when we acknowledge that energy, we begin to see what we can actually do as a community. Isn't that exciting? So I just wanted to share that. So I'm going to post it again today on the stories if you get a chance. And also if you check out, my what's called Rewind Wednesdays. My Rewind Wednesdays is showing you some of the old stuff that I've done so you can get some of the old knowledge and information, things like that. So it's really good. There's a TV show that I was on, reoccurring role, called The Doctors. It's a show with like real doctors that I was working with on a show where we bring in people and we confront like major issues in the medical world and health and wellness world and all this kind of stuff. And so before the show got canceled because of COVID, but it was an amazing show that I was on. So I posted that in this one that just came up on the Rewind Wednesdays in my stories on Instagram. And you can see like I worked with different people. So what I used to do is I used to do field studies where I would take different people with major issues, from alcoholism to not being able to find a relationship to chronic issues, to you name it, and then bringing them with the camera crew and then helping them and then going back over their life in the studio with all the doctors to see how it improved and what change has happened and so forth. And sometimes I would give them these love assignments where I would have them do different things. But, so if you haven't seen that, you can check that out in the stories. I think it's still up. But what's really important, at this time in our evolution is that when you wake up in the morning and you think about life, you don't go to your phone right away. You don't go to your computer right away. Just take a moment and realize that you matter, that you're valuable. Oh, I'm going to start crying. Your existence is so important on this planet. And you don't need anyone to qualify that based on what you have, what you've done, how smart you are, who you know. None of that antiquates to the value of your being. What actually antiquates to that truth is that you were created. That's our mother and father, God, and all the divine beings' way of saying that you've been given the approval. Right? So stop seeking approval from the outside world, because trust me, when you get to a position where I'm at in my life, a lot of people want to be famous. A lot of people want to be in the eyes of the public. A lot of people want to be public figures. But again, when you put yourself out there, you have to be comfortable with people who don't like you. You have to be comfortable with people making stories up about you that aren't true. You have to be comfortable with people just really thinking you're the worst thing on the planet. And you still have to be in a place of love. You still have to be true to your vision, true to your path, true to what inspires you, because you're not here to be a slave to anyone's idea of you. You are here to do what you love. Right? So you've been pre-approved by our mother, father, God, right? And so, there's and when I say famous or being a public figure, what it really means is sharing whatever it is you want on a global level, right? Not just like in your local town, but on a global level. And not everybody wants to be famous. Not everybody wants to be in that space. But anytime you put yourself out there, you have to be okay with criticism, even on a smaller level to a bigger level. It all is connected, right? So, when I was just going around giving people healings and teaching them about shamanism, and I was doing it for free. I was like barely paying my bills and like couldn't even afford like the groceries that I wanted. But all I knew was I just wanted to be there for the people, And I remember a friend of mine buying me a ticket to go to New York because he wanted me to support some people there. And I met this woman, and this woman said to me, "Why aren't you charging?" And I was like, "Oh, I feel that spirituality, I shouldn't charge. It's a gift from God." And like, this is how I used to think when I was really, really young. And she's like, "I understand that. But you live in a world that requires currency, and you live in a world where you have to be able to get from here to there and buy food and have a roof over your head, and all the energy that you're putting out, you also deserve to be pampered and taken care of for all the energy that you're exuding from your being." She's like, "You need to start charging." And it really was like, it was like gut wrenching, right? Because it was like this part of me that felt like I was like, somehow betraying my belief system that I had in like what it meant to be a shaman and what it meant to be of service and so forth. So it took me a while, you know, it was a lot of nights of like, you know, I get emotional even thinking about it. A lot of nights of contemplation and like feeling like I was self-betraying myself and focusing on and not wanting it to be about money and not wanting it to be about these things and so forth. But what was happening was more people were finding out about me. I wasn't even written up in any magazines at that time. I was just being all word of mouth, but more word of mouth was building and people were asking me to come to them and like help them and support their families and so forth. And then I had this amazing experience happen to me, and I'm going to tell you the story. So I got invited by a very, very wealthy family that's connected to like the Gates family. Okay. I'm not going to say who exactly, but let's just say at that level. Okay. And I had borrowed some money from a friend. And this person, I was like, okay. At that point, I didn't accept that I should set up a price. I did everything on donation basis. So a friend of mine had did a session with me and gave me like $20, and that was enough money to buy gas and get to Silicon Valley. And I ended up working with this family and spent like a whole week there, you know, doing like intensive work, right? And they were like, "Oh God, Shaman Durek, you're so amazing. We love everything that you're doing, and you know, it's just so beautiful everything that you do. And we, you know, thank you so much for coming." And they said, "So how much do we owe you?" And I said, "Well, you know, it's based on donation. So just give whatever you feel you want to give." Okay. And so they handed me an envelope, and I get to my car and I open the envelope. Now, mind you, I stayed 4 days there and I gave every day, like from morning to evening, my energy, my time, like really planning their meals, like really supporting them, like being on that level, right? And then all of a sudden, I opened up the envelope and there was $20 in the envelope. $20. It was not even enough to buy gas to get home. And I just started crying and I was bawling, right? And then I started going, I went to Spirit and I said, why, how could they treat me this way? And Spirit said to me, this isn't about how they treated you. This is about how you treated you. And I was like, what? And I'm getting chills. And they were like, yes, because you set it up as a donation. And that's what they wanted to give you because they didn't see that you saw the value in yourself. So they gave you $20. And even though I could say, well, they knew I was there for a week and I traveled all the way, you know, far distance and I only had enough money to, you know, to get there because I had to borrow money from a friend but then I did a healing on a friend and, you know, all these things that happen in the sequence of these things. But then all of a sudden I started laughing. I started laughing and laughing and laughing and be like, you got me. You got me, universe. You got me, Mother and Father God. You have just awakened the truth in me that I have to set a value for who I am and what I do. And it changed everything. And what it did was it not only allowed me to see how I was giving people the right to value me, but I wasn't setting the tonation, the authority, the energy, the sovereignty, the presence, the direction, the frequency of the value of me, you see? And so then what happened was, woo, this is like, ooh, right? So, and what happened was that I started connecting with other healers and I started realizing that they were doing the same thing. And I shared with them this story. And I said, don't let someone decide your value. You decide your value honestly and authentically from where you are. And I started very small. Of course, I started like at 100, then it went up from 100 to 350, and and then I built this business in New York with the help of my friends. Three of my friends, one who runs the fashion industry, one who runs the Wall Street industry, and one who runs the music industry. And we built this club called Heaven and Earth. And Heaven and Earth was a club where you would get invited to actually have a session with me. And then I would create these like socials that people would connect to. And so I was working with like Wall Street execs and music pioneers and music people and people in the fashion world. And what was interesting is what was interesting about it was that people started coming to me and saying like, wow, I really appreciate the value that you represent on this planet. And it was really interesting because when they said that to me, it wasn't about them saying it to me as it was about me saying it to myself. Right. And so why am I sharing this with you? Because all of you are powerful, right? You're all lit leaders in your own right, your own communities, and everything beautiful and divine and excellent about you, right? But it's so important that you see the value that you represent. We don't live on a planet where people can just bring oranges and apples to you and let you sleep in their barn like it used to be when you had mystics and healers and people who would be called in to work in different, palaces and certain types of environments where they would say, we're going to take care of you and pay for your food. And all you have to do is provide these services and so forth. We don't live in that world, unfortunately. And I'm sure perhaps it does exist on some level where there are people who would do those things, but still, you have to have a sense of your own bounty, your own spirit, your own excellence, right? And of course, if you're here in this live, you're obviously excellent because, of course, the vibrational field of resonance that I create in my life and have always created in my life is about lifting people and presenting them to themselves, right? It's not about, oh, look at me, I'm Shaman Durek, I'm so powerful, because that doesn't mean anything, right? It's about me being of service to my mother and father God. It's about me serving humanity and serving and holding a field of energy on the planet so that each of you can see how amazing and divine you are and how much the spirits love you and our mother and father God love you and all these other beings love you, and how every day they are 100% waiting for you to align your thinking and your heart to orchestrate and demonstrate a beautiful experience for yourself on planet Earth. And we don't always get it right. And I don't always get it right, and I sometimes fumble and sometimes I roll over and sometimes I'm crying and like, oh, I want to give up. And then spirit comes in, is like, here's what's really going on. And I don't care how spiritual someone is. I don't care. There's this whole subculture going on right now where people are doing a lot of plant medicines and they think, oh, because I did plant medicine, I've reached some level of enlightenment. And that's not true either. If you are in the embodiment, meaning in the realm of matter, right? And you have legs and you are in the realm of matter, you are here for the purpose of holding fields of energy and evolving through those different energies, and then holding greater fields of energy and evolving through those different fields of energy, and supporting your fellow brothers and sisters. And I may take it the other way around, sisters and brothers. I want to put women first before, because the feminine is the one that educates the masculine to be able to know what to build, right? So that there's an equilibrium that takes place in the universal field of occurrence. And that occurrence is always coming from the awareness of the feminine, which lives in the unknown. It's the darkness, it's the womb, it's the place where all creativity and all energy is built from. That's why, like the good old saying that I always say is that, if you want to know your mind is with lights on and, your sun on, and you're seeing things and visualizing things and reading things and all of that, right? That's the mind, right? That's the architect. But the feminine, if you ever, one of the things I used to do when I was a kid, other than like lock myself into these cabinets and listen to Metallica and really get into some deep wisdoms from them, but I used to go into these very dark rooms, like really dark ones. Like I would turn off all the lights in the house, turn off all the lights, and I would sit in darkness where I can't see anything so I can connect with the feminine. And I would go into my feelings. And that's how I developed my intuition. I would feel into everything, feel into the cosmos, feel into the different realms, because the darkness allowed me to expand into the invisible, into the unknown, into the places where the feminine needed me to go to understand the deep levels of life and death and rebirth and all the in-betweens, the hate, the love, the pain, the suffering, the this, the that, right? And like be able to like really feel into that space. So I spent a lot of time in darkness. That's one of the things I actually love about living in Norway, because it's dark right now. And my wife is always turning on lights and I'm always turning off the lights, because that's when I can really tap into my traveling into the feminine realms. But what's so beautiful about that is that once I get the feminine energy to bring forth the wisdom, then she communicates it to my masculine mind, which wants to build and create designs and architects. Then it knows exactly what to create. And then I go out there and it's just like, it's like this explosion of fireworks of like creating, because that's what we are. We're here to create. But in order to create, we have to have magnetic energy. And magnetic energy comes from when you feel good about yourself, when you feel like, I call it, me and my wife, we call it like on fire. When we feel like, oh my God, it's just so wonderful to be out there doing things and creating and coming up with new ideas and not thinking about, oh, how are we going to do it, but that we want to do it. And one of the funnest things that my wife and I do, which I really recommend you to do every single day, is take a moment every single day and talk out loud to yourself of all the things that you want in your life. I don't care. Don't hold back. If it's a butler that you want, if you want someone to make yummy food for you and you don't want to cook ever again, if it's you living in a beautiful house by the beach, if it's you living in a tiny house in a wood somewhere, I don't care what it is. Your dreams are your dreams, but they have to stay alive. If you are a person who's focusing more on the distractions of the system, which is all the wars and the this and that person, this and this overpolarized leader is doing this and this person's doing that and yada, 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 right? You are being distracted. You are being pulled into that energy so that they can pull your life force, which is your power. So if you're doing the exercise that we have this week, your energy is a huge power source. And if that power source is being used for that energy, right, then that's not supporting you, right? And so activating the awareness for yourself and for connecting to community, now that's something that you can get into, right? And so if you just practice every single day using your power center, which is this, right? Your Vishuddha, using your power center, going into the energy, Amama Ashe to you, going into the energy of, I'm going to speak my dreams every single day until it happens. Every single day. I have friends who are like successful and wealthy and everything on that level, and including myself, like where I am at, like even with meeting my wife, I used to always speak out all the time. I am going to meet a person who gets me on a spiritual level, who's transparent, who doesn't lie, who tells the truth, who's not afraid of triggers, who wants to go deep, who wants to be romance, who loves me opening the doors for her, who loves me buying flowers for her, who loves me doing these things. She's going to embrace me, teach me, allow me to cry and feel strong at the same time, allow me to be the man that I am and the female that I am and everything that I am. And then boom, she walked into my life. And I kid you not, every single time you speak out loud, you are activating your throat chakra. And when you activate your throat chakra, you are creating powerful energy in this world. It bypasses the nonsense that these other energies are trying to gain control over, and literally starts like going like, this is what I want in my life. I want a walk-in closet. I don't care if it's material. I don't care if it's spiritual. I don't care if it's emotional. I don't care if it's mental, but speak it. You gotta speak it, baby. You gotta speak it. This is how you activate energies in your life. If you are sitting back and your mind, which is the architect, and if you guys are interested in learning about this even more, literally, there's a course that I'm giving tonight. It's a webinar. If you can't make it, at least sign up so you can watch the replay. And it's all about the architect, connecting to the architect and connecting to the heart space that creates the codes and the information. It is going to be lit. And if you've never been in any of my webinars and my healing temples, or any other, even the Lit Vibe meditation app that has an amazing community of lit leaders communicating, sharing, meeting up, connecting each other's town, having fun when they go visit each other. It is a beautiful community we've created, and it's a powerful community. And we are all so powerful in this community. And let me tell you something. There's one thing you will never, ever, 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 ever get from me. And that is, you will never, ever, ever, ever get from me hierarchy nonsense. It doesn't matter to me. Shaman Durek, great. Wonderful. I'm here for you. This isn't about me. It's about us. It's about lifting. It's about shifting. And it's about raising the vibrational field on our planet. And each of you, including myself and all of us, have the ability to do so by constantly staying in that lit space. Like if you, for instance, I was just spending this past week with my niece. She came to Norway. We knocked out 25 new meditations. They are super amazingly like next level. And even just going into the meditations for the shadow on, because a lot of times people think the shadow is like this, scary part of yourself, but it really isn't. It's a part of yourself that's asking for love. Just like I had a woman come in and she's just like, my life has completely changed. All I did was listen to all the shadow activations on the app. And all I did is this. And I've been taking your webinars, and people's lives have been changing. I'm telling you. So I don't create things of course I have to take care of the things and pay my staff and the people who, support, you through the things that we're doing. Right. But I'm here to make sure that you have everything you need to be the gorgeous divine being that you are. And you are. It's my birthday. Give me a birthday shout out. All right. Yoga with yoga with Nancy. I'm going to give you a happy birthday in Norwegian. So it's gratulerer med dagen. And happy birthday to you. Love you. Anyone else having a birthday? Scorpios in the house. Who's my Scorpios in the house? Happy birthday, Scorpio, sis. Yes, I'm a Scorpio. My birthday's coming soon. Super excited. Happy birthday, Scorpios. Yes. Yes. So wonderful. I love this time of the year. Oh, when I walk around Norway and I feel the cold air on my face, I'm like, oh my God. So wonderful with the leaves falling. I love it. And it's like dark. I can light candles. I can make warm teas and soups. And I can get into my creative energy cocoon. I can just cocoon myself. I can start getting into deeper ways that I want to share information with the community, doing more community things. Like, absolutely. My wife comes in. She's like, why are you sitting in the dark? I'm like, I'm traveling through the feminine unknown. I'm entering into the spirit world. She's like, okay, honey, I got, this is me. That's who I am. I'm a quadruple Scorpio. I have to feel the presence of the depths. That's how I operate. Only for the purpose of serving and being there for everyone and supporting life. That's what I believe in the most. That's what I live for, So going back to what I was saying. So if you are interested in that course, you can find it on my link tree. If you just go and look on my page, you can sign up for that. But I'm so happy about being alive on this planet. So happy about being on this planet at this time, to be able to hold space for the light to show up in this most beautiful way. Ooh, my brother is on here. Let's see what he's got to say. I gotta, you know, if you guys don't know my brother. I'm right here. Let's see where he's at. Go live. Maybe he's not accepting the live. Oh, no. I don't see why he's not accepting it. Okay. Anyway, so I was saying that it is so powerful.
Oh, you are. Hello, my brother.
Hello, my love. Are you in a place to share some love with the community?
Oh, always, as long as we're breathing, as long as we are breathing.
Yeah.
Happy Scorpio season. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, this season for me has been, especially when Scorpio comes around, such a season of reflection, such a season of going within and asking myself, what more can I bring to the world? Yeah, no, but so many people, so many people are coming to readings. I notice, readings and sessions. What can I get? What can I get? What can I get? What can I give? And Spirit is always asking, what can you give? What can you give? What can you give? What can you give? We can't receive if we don't give.
Yes.
It is definitely common sense and logical, the fact that we all are in need of something. Some people are in need of health, more health. Some people are in need of more stability. All that is it's okay. But unless you have something in the world that you're offering to, giving, you are, offering some peace, you're offering guidance, you're offering support, you're offering the talent that the universe creator invested in you for you to give. Everything else that you are waiting for is not going to come. That's how we mentally make the mistake of hexing ourselves. We think it's someone else hexing you. That could be possible that someone out there in the world is wishing you bad and doing some negative crap towards you and all that. Okay. But unless you are in alignment with the universe and what your own gifts are, these negative vibrational levels are wishing upon you. It cannot knock you down. When you become consumed over what someone else is doing to you, that in itself becomes your hexing. Excuse me, that in itself becomes the problem that ties you down and puts blinders on. So, what are you giving? What are you giving? What are you offering? Who
No,
you extend hand to?
I want to add something to that because I hear where you're coming from and I totally agree with you, but there's just one part that I want to add, and that's that, I always see that what you're saying perspective of how we operate with Orisha. So that's how I always see like like sometimes I was talking go to Orisha and they'll go into their practices when they want something, right? And I think it's always about not when you want something, but you should always in that space of giving the spirit, giving to the divine, and holding that space. But I also feel, and this is what I'm getting to, feeling where there's time where people need to stop giving, start coffered, filling up a place that have been drained because they not allowed themselves to, and they're giving too much. And I think the balance between
Oh,
that,
yes.
because some people are burnt out right now. A lot of people, and just even just in some of the courses and stuff that people are like really depleted because they're actually depleting their energy by being distracted by all these other things, by people, what they say, by, fears they have and certain things. And I think there's a point where we also have to be giving, but also giving to ourselves through the act of receiving the blessings that are already provided by spirit. Because I feel like a lot of people don't see the blessings provided by spirit because they feel some kind of thing that they have to do to get the blessing instead of just receiving the blessing that is there. But if they have this mindset like, I have to do something in order to get something, it creates that whole imbalance on our planet. Whole idea of I have to go out and do something in order to be valuable, in order to receive value, to be seen as valuable, in order to receive something, instead of going like, I'm a child of the divine. I am the divine. Blessing is eminent. Blessing is present every second, every day, every minute, every moment, never depleted, never running out. It's always there. And I have to know that, believe that, and accept that truth to see it, witness it, and it can allow it to be present. Because I always pray for people to let down their walls is for the blessings that are already there. So that's the part that I wanted to add because sometimes people
Yes.
are like, oh, do I have to give more? And some people don't need to give anymore because they've given too much. They've never allowed the balance.
Hmm. Most definitely. I call that giving consciously. Giving consciously. When we give unconsciously, we it stems from that. For many people, it stems from that part of their inner child that never received from mom, never received from dad, never received from their loved ones. So they have a need to always prove themselves by overgiving. So balance is also much, very much necessary. And the part that doesn't allow people to see that they already possess the blessing is that part of it that's living in fear. So we have to face the fear and definitely upgrade it so fear is not controlling us. Now, I also believe that the given aspect comes from a place where you don't know your worth. You don't know that you are enough. You don't know that you already have that blessing. And I call it activating. It's not about what I can get, it's about activating what's already within me. We do work, you do a lot of work, I do a lot of work about re- help supporting individuals to remember that they have already the blessing inside and it needs to be activated. Now, facing your truth about you cannot live together in the same space where you are lying to yourself about other people because some people want to, yes, oh yes, I can see that, I can face my truth, I want to face my truth. Yeah, part of facing your truth is also accepting the truth in other people, accepting the truth about your mom, about your dad, about your sibling, about your whomever it is that you feel that you are in suffering about. You got to accept the truth about them too, so that your truth can stand solid and that your foundation can be solid as well. Because sometimes that looks like in loving me, I have to separate myself from those that are hurting me. I can't just sit there and continue to be their victim because that's not going to help me be able to honor the divinity that does live within me. And this Scorpio season definitely does that. It shows you truth. It shows you truth right before your eyes. It's a matter of accepting it. It's a matter of not trying to control it. It's a matter of you being able to know, wow, these are things that are out of my control. They are in the hands of Creator, of Mother Earth, of Universe. I have to stand in my own mirror. I do a lot of mirror work. Mirror work for me is very important, where I talk to my inner self. I look at myself. You know how many people wake up and they eat and don't even look at themselves in their own mirror? They've been distant from even looking at their own reflection. If you don't know how to look at your own reflection, that in itself is a problem that needs to be addressed,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, one of the things that I do is I do this thing called to parts of my being that are calling out to me. Like if I feel sad about something, I don't just let it take over me. I go and say, "Hey, I noticed that you feel sad. Like what is it that you need from me? And isn't it beautiful that I'm showing up for you?" And then it tells me what it is and what it needs, and then it clears it and then aligns and then all of a sudden that energy is upgraded. So I look at the aspects of the voices that want my attention, but I haven't given them my attention. So that's where I would you say work my thing is more like sensing the places within me that want to talk to me and need to want to share something with me that's valuable. So I'm listening all the time. Like even like when I'm sitting with a person in sessions, I hear voices of from their consciousness talking to me, their emotions talking to me, their spirits, their ancestors talking to me. And I hear what they say without judgment. I just listen. I go, oh, okay, okay. And just listen because I think that when we get into understanding the feminine and masculine energy, for me the masculine energy is the same that I feel with my wife. When my wife comes home from her office and she just, the first thing she wants to do is just share with me everything she went through in the day, and I just sit and listen. And then my kids come home and then they share with me everything that they went through, and it, to me, it's like always holding that space. I always feel like my masculine energy needs to hold space for information to come through without judgment, and just really listen and listen and listen. And then what it does is it allows me then to hold a greater space of, now that I've heard everything, now I go and present it to the ancestors. I present it to the divine and say, what is this? Is there anything you want to add, support this? How can we bring this, forward to, so I can support my bonus kids, support my wife, support my family, support the community, and so forth. Like even just now, before you came on, this voice came inside of me and was like, bring your brother on to share some knowledge and wisdom to the community. So I listen and say, okay, let's do that, right? That's how I live my life. When I walk down the street, I hear voices of people's thoughts in going around all over the place. One woman was sitting down in Norway, and I could see that I heard a voice in the saying that I'm sad because I just lost someone. So I just went and sat next to her. And it's not a thing you do in Norway. You don't sit next to people in Norway, but I like to break the rules. And I just sat next to her and I was just like, I know that you lost someone, and I just want you to know that I'm here for you. And if you want to talk or whatever. And she's like, how did you know that? And I said, because I heard your voice speaking to me when I was listening to the inner world, and so I think one of the things is we're always so reactive to the outside world. And I think if we spend more time listening to the inner planes, the inner invisible planes, and the places where the true voices live, not the face, the mask that people wear and the voices they tell out of their mouth because they want to, put on a show or protect themselves or any of these things, but the voices that are in the inner planes where, there's it's that there's more truth in those voices.
Most definitely. For me, well, we know that we live in a society in a world that has trained us and conditioned us to be crazy if we listen to voices. And we have been able to help a lot of people to understand that those voices that are speaking to them doesn't make them crazy. It makes them aware. It makes them conscious. It makes them connected. It makes them a spiritual vessel. And sometimes it's very intense when you're so receptive to those voices. It's so intense. You got to learn how to take a step back and say, okay, what am I listening to right now? And understand what that voice is. For me, many years ago, I noticed that a lot of the voices that I used to listen to were predominantly feminine voices, feminine ancestors, feminine voices, feminine entities. And it took me a long time to understand why. And it was because Spirit was teaching me through those feminine voices how to balance my masculine and feminine, because I was always overprotective, very masculine, a lot of walls up, a lot of very aggressive. So therefore, I had to learn how to, oh, wait a minute, these feminine voices are teaching me how to open up to the divine feminine, how to open up to the voices that offer, that birth, that give, that balance, creates that balance. So that's how it worked for me. And definitely, when you are a clairvoyant, when you are a healer, when you are that have these particular gifts, which we all do at the end of the day, it's a matter of being able to be receptive, be self-aware, and open and see what to do with it. Some people hear the voices and they shut it down.
Yeah.
As we ask of it, what is that is needed in this moment of you, so that we can offer that, wherever it's supposed to fit. So definitely it's a good thing for people to be aware of, so they don't continue to fight the voices in their head, as they like to say these days, because those voices are trying to teach you something, or they're trying to support something, or they're trying to guide you to a different level in your life. So it's a matter of definitely being receptive. And for some, it can happen while they cook. For some of them, it can happen walking in nature. For some of them, it can be with you walking out and noticing something about someone, and being confident enough to convey it to them. For someone, it could be doing another craft. It depends on what each individual's strengths are. But we got to learn how to listen. See, some people just shut it down. No, don't shut it down. Open it up and be open to it to understand, because a lot of people are not where they're supposed to be because they keep shutting down those voices
Yeah.
instead of connecting with them. Got to
Asha.
connect with them. It's that you're not going to lose your head. Some might need some guidance and some support. That's perfectly fine. But don't shut it down. Actually, be open to it, because the more you shut it down, the more you shut yourself down.
Right. And so when said, how does that apply with those with schizophrenia? And I want to just kind of go into that question for a second. So a lot of these things that people have, schizophrenia, bipolar, this, all these different things. In shamanism, we don't have that. We don't have those things. Those things are created by the Western world as what I call associations of how they feel they can actually box it up and label it and then give medicine to it and all of these different things. In our world, or in the way of the mystic and the way of the shaman and the way of what we represent, right, is the old wisdom of the earth. Those are gifts, and those gifts have not been nurtured or understood. They haven't been utilized planet. And so I have people who've come to me who, oh, I have schizophrenia. And I'm like, oh, actually don't. What you have is awareness of guilt. And what I'm going to do is teach you how to use your powers to in ways that your body, your mind, your emotions can handle. And that's the same for people with bipolar. And that's the same with all these different things, because a lot of times people don't realize that a lot of these ideas that have been coming about when it comes to mental health have been distorted because of the lack of the emotional and spiritual intelligence that has been on the planet since like God knows when, right? And people have been utilizing ways in which to keep people in these very secular boxes to provide them with a minimal amount of support by saying, oh well, this is what you are, this is what it is, and it's always going to be this way, instead of going like, oh, you have you have ADHD, this is what it means spiritually, and this is how you maneuver it. Oh, you have this, oh, this is what you are supposed to be. You're meant to be an oracle, so your job in life is to constantly pull all the information and learn how to decipher it. It's fascinating our world doesn't make space for these really highly intelligent people.
Yes, yes, and yes. It's definitely a spiritual imbalance. And it's spiritual imbalance because, okay, come on, people. Let's go to Africa and let's see how many schizophrenics you will find. You're not going to find them. You're not going to find them because instead of African culture trying to demonize and trying to block someone and medicate them and shut them down, they have nurtured that gift that comes naturally with that person. What happens is here you get a label, you get diagnosed, and you get medicated. That is the beginning of the issue. Okay, you get labeled, you get diagnosed, and medicated. That is the beginning of the breakdown of the problem. Because when you medicate something that's natural, then you really start to screw up with people's brains, and that's when people just go wait away on the other side. Whereas if you were to understand that that particular person that someone calls schizophrenia, schizophrenic, is a person that has information overload spiritually. Information overload. And they have not been taught, guided, and nurtured how to balance all that information overload. Okay. Granted, many people in this world come from a lot of traumatic experiences, right? That is true. But that also can be addressed without the need to label it, medicate it, and give it a little description in the DSM book. It doesn't work like that. In Africa, you didn't have schizophrenia, you didn't have bipolarism, you didn't have that. You did not have that. You had people that were so close to the spiritual realm that their ability to see, sense, receive, and connect much was much more deeper, and they were lower frequency of connection, a different kind of frequency of connection. Here, we are too worried about medicating someone. When you medicate, you're shutting down the God within. If you medicate someone, you're shutting down the God within. But because we live in a society that does not nurture that, it just makes it worse. And then sometimes, unfortunately, it makes it so bad to such an extreme where it takes much more longer to bring that person back.
It's true. When I was a kid, I had a doctor put me on lithium, Prozac. They said I had like multiple personality disorder, all these different things. Oh. And and it was interesting because when I started
We all have multiple personality disorder.
exactly. That's shared with me, who was training me in shamanism in our culture, she was like, no, these are your abilities to access the spirit world. And this is what you're going to do to clear that. When I was going into chronic depression, it was because I was feeling all of the empathic energies of suffering on this planet, but I couldn't understand why I was so depressed. And then when my family was helping me, the part of my family that held on to our roots in our Yoruban culture and what we represent, they were like, no, the reason why this is happening to you, boy, is because you feel the depth of energy. So we have to teach you how to be able to understand how to feel that without being overwhelmed in your physical form. So I had to do all of these exercises and I had to change the way I was able to tap into energy without there being reactions of fear and reactions of judgment and reactions of these things. And once I did that, I was able to feel the depth of human suffering without feeling depressed.
Yes, yeah. It's interesting, especially the so-called multiple personality disorder. We all have multiple personalities. Let's accept that. I have different personality when the warrior in me channels. I have a different personality when the healer, the nurturer in me channels. That's whole different personality, you know. So we all have different personalities. The only difference is that those that are diagnosed with these, multiple personality disorder, that particular person has not known how to work with those different personalities that they have. They have not been taught how to work with those different personalities. So then when you are not taught how to work with your different personalities, and now you're in a society that doesn't nurture it, then they are the ones that are putting you over the brink. They are the ones that are taking you to a level of complete disconnect with self. Complete disconnect.
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
all have personalities.
And they do purpose because society is built on this idea of trying to make you feel that the support systems are only the ones in which they support. So when you don't have a support system that sits there and goes, "Oh, you're talking to spirits. Oh, an entity entered your room. Oh, this thing happened. Oh, that's normal." They try to make it seem like it's not normal. It's weird. You're crazy. You think you can feel energy in this tree. You think you can feel like, and that's why it's so important in our community to join together and really start lifting the vibrational energy field of acceptance for one another, and lifting that vibrational field is also acknowledging that, yes, I'm here to help you. If society is saying this to you, don't listen to society. They don't even have a resume that gives them the right to even talk about these things. Like sometimes I'll see press write things about what they think about what I say and whatever, and they have no clue what they're talking about whatsoever. And it's just like people are like, "Oh, why didn't you respond?" I don't want to respond because they have no clue. They shouldn't even be talking about any of it because that they're not even in my world. There
Let me
is.
say something. The ones that are talking about it in that manner, they're just puppets. Puppets that have been trained to think that way. But let me tell you all something. Those that did the training knew the truth. They knew the truth, which is why it was their number one agenda to disconnect us from nature, disconnect us from the tree, disconnect us from the water, disconnect us from the land. That's what they did. That's what happened to the transatlantic slave trade. That's what happened with this indoctrination, plans that they had. Because it's interesting to me, if we were to just sit and think, reflect on what people say without do real active listening. Wait a minute. You're telling me that I'm crazy talking to the trees, but you're the one going to the Amazons to get the magic and the medicine from the trees. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So these huge companies, I'm not going to mention names or anything like that on here because you know how things.
Yeah.
But
No.
these huge entities go out for centuries. They've been going out into the Amazons to extract the medicine from the trees. But you're telling me that I'm crazy to talking to trees? It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
And it's really funny too because I find it interesting that what our world what's happening on our world, and I'm not really too caught up in like, I don't really pay attention so much about what's going on because it's spirit tells me to stay in my lane and keep going and keep focusing on being there for the community and building people's awareness of themselves so they can be these powerful beings that they are. And that's just an idle distraction, and I've seen it before in other bodies, so why do I want to like continue to participate or even give any of my energy to it? But I do understand what they're doing. And I do understand, like, even like a perfect example would be, when I look at cities and I look at how people build houses, they build them in squares, in like square ways. And I wrote about it in my book. And the squares are represent putting your mind into a box, into a trap, where in the ancient days, there were circular conclaves and buildings that were more circular, which represents the feminine, which operates in the idea of community, communication, talking, sharing, interacting, trading. So whenever you looked at the old places, you would see these amphitheaters that were circle. You would see buildings that were like more claves of circles, and literally it made people want to be in nature. It made people want to go and talk to one another. It created more unity. And so it's fascinating how the world builds everything in these squares and rectangles, because the ancient cities were not built that way. They did it, even the Moors talked about the circumference being the most powerful way in which to expand every energy. Why do we keep building our computers square, telephones square, everything is square, windows are looking out of a window is square, buildings are square, because they want us to get trapped in the masculine mind and not be able to want to interact with other people. It creates us to shut our energies down. And so it's what you're saying about returning to nature and good rivers, all of these things. Like I was talking, to the water spirits the other day and the wind spirits, and it's always so beautiful to be in communion with nature because, like, I was talking to this friend of mine, she had jumped in the river, and I was like, did you ask the river for permission before you jumped in? You didn't just disturb the river like it's nothing. Do you think the river doesn't have its own consciousness? Do you think the trees don't have their own knowledge and their own consciousness? We have to start acknowledging all sentient life and not just the ones that, and of course, like I always tell people, there is balance on this planet. There are spirits on the planet that require sacrifice. There's, like some, like people always say, oh, I don't like it that a person kills an animal. I'm like, okay, well, do you like it that Mother Nature kills tons of people with a tsunami? Because there has to be sacrifice. There has to be balance on the planet, because there's some lives that are going on and other people give up their lives for those lives. So there is a balance. But while you're in that state of balance, we have to be aware of the sacredness of the balance and the sacredness of our relationship with people, with things, with energies, with things that we're using on the day to day. Why are we putting this in our body? Why am I drinking this drink? Why am I talking and sharing this information? How is this building and supporting and lifting and allowing other people to see their divinity that is already present within them? I can't hear you, my love.
I was saying, going back to what you were saying, I wish people would really understand how important that piece is between everything being square versus being round. You are stealing people' ability to connect. The world is round. In traditional spiritual African practices, everything is done in circle, in
That's right.
circumference. Everything is done in circle, everything, because that is what holds, that is that container of magic, our inner magic. That is the container of the portals that are on the other side of spiritual realms. So we've been desensitized from our own magic. We've been desensitized from our own magic. And our job is to rescue it and get it back. And jumping into the previous topic that we were talking about, listen, I mean, I know for a lot of people that don't believe this, it sounds cocky. Let me tell you something. If you and I, were to take over, let's just say, a wild, really wild a thought. If you and I were to take over a mental institution, listen, I assure you that the vast majority, 99%, would be liberated. 99% would come back home being into their body. 99% would come back into their real mind, because we would use chant, we would use drum, we would use techniques that will, for some, will take much, 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 much longer. For others, it would just be something of a snap of a reconnection
Yep.
than the medications that they get in there.
100%, brother. And you know what? That sounds like a lovely idea. So I'm going to manifestation that we open up our even just or something, because that is very important for the development of humanity. And I definitely um call in that energy to become fully manifested. I honestly believe that if we were to literally operate a school that is operating all over the globe that helps people to come into their truth, recognizing how to truly operate architecture, how to truly design cities, how to truly build houses, how to truly create. People take showers and don't even realize that if you had plants and energies around you with when you take showers with the water, you're amplifying a high frequency of healing and health in your body the way we did it in ancient times. You're not supposed to take showers in just something that's all stone. There's supposed to be plants there. It's just all of these different elements that we have not associated into the understanding of the human evolutionary process of living, the basic understandings of living. And I think the human psychology in and also people's bodies have been affected by it because the system is doing everything it can to create things that are synthetically not in alignment with your natural blueprint and how your system is. Just being in a square house affects my energy, that I have to actually meditate and create circles around my body of energy so that my body always is getting the right amount of frequencies and movement through my system, because the square energy is limiting me from wanting to connect with other people. And so I got to keep those circle energies there so that I feel the need to want to talk to my neighbor and wanting to nurture my body and wanting to do these things, because that's what that energy does. And it's funny because the Romans use that as a place of like, the gladiator stadiums, is that they use that as a place of terror and pain, as a way to shift the magic of that. They knew every time they put a gladiator or a person in that arena, they were using dark magic to go against those energies. And it's so interesting how much of the old Romans and these old systems that were really going against the feminine energy from rising into this plateau. I mean, even in my past life, when I was the Oracle of Delphi, sitting in front of this smoke and always having to tell people what I saw, and I was being controlled by all these people all the time, and but still being able to live in a conclave and being able to, be in that space. I have those energies still in me, in my feminine spirit, and that part of my being is still present. Like, I still feel the Oracle of Delphi in my being to this day. And as I feel the part of me that was a pharaoh with my wife in this lifetime and when we were in Egypt. And I have all these different aspects. And the chancellor, when I was a chancellor in Atlantis, and I used to help formulate a lot of the emotional awareness of telepathic communication and all that stuff. And so all of these energies are asking to be reformed on earth, and I think it's a very paramount time for us to create stronger communities where we start supporting each other's visions and ideas and dreams and bringing them to manifestation. So yeah, I don't want to talk forever because I have to get ready for it tonight, but I
Yeah.
love so much. And
Yes. Thank you so very much. I'll add this just for an aha moment for people. Look at the fact how classrooms are square,
Mhm.
right? And the greatest healing spaces occur in circles.
Mhm.
Major difference. Major difference. The indoctrinations of schools happen in squares, but healings happen in circles. That right there tells you. That right there shows you.
So
Thank you much. Always definitely a blessing to share energetic space with you. I definitely want to connect with you when you come back into to the States. Thank you
I
so much.
other your wisdom. Thank you for your kindness to share that wisdom with all of us. And thank you for every day your devotion to humanity and to your ancestors and to your practices of everything that you bring to help us.
Thank you. Likewise to my soul brother. Much love to everyone. Thank you. Come on.
Ah, so wonderful. You know what I people call like a aha moment? I call it a ha ha moment. Because the more enlightened you become, the more you start to laugh at life and how silly and how dramatic you've been with all of your past ideas and so forth and so on. So it's really a ha ha moment, that I always used to say. So, my darlings, again, like I said, please join us in the webinar if you choose, or in any of the things that I offer. So, just to give you that again, you can go to shamandurek.com, take other courses at the Shaman School. If it's a money thing, please do the 30 days strong. It's a free 30 days training that you can take on shamandurek.com. If you are interested in the SOs, which is a powerful quantum energy device, you can also find that information there. If you want to get on the Lit Vibe meditation app, which are activations to open up your powers, you can do that by going to Google or on Apple and join the community of other lit leaders who share their knowledge, wisdom, and what they're doing in the world. And if you want to upgrade your levels, come to the webinars. We have amazing webinars. The Healing Temple is also amazing if you want some healing every other week. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and we've got more coming down the pipeline of love, the pipeline of love. So I look forward to seeing you tonight, which would be my nighttime, 10 o'clock my nighttime in Norway, but wherever you are in the world. And if you want to join the 7 day clearing, which is again the most amazing thing ever, where we are all at 8 o'clock, wherever you are in the world, we are clearing energy for all the members who are all here, the lit leaders of legacy, which is you, clearing your pathway. We're doing it together, and amazing letters have been pouring in of people's lives changing because of this clearing. I know I've already seen things changing. So it's amazing what we can do together. So let's keep doing community things together. I'm going to come up with some more good ones. And right now, let's keep the clearing one going because it's really powerful and it's really changing a lot of people. You can look at it on my stories, or you can go on my page and look at the 7 day clearing that's there and join it. Wahe Guru, yes. And Satnam to everyone. I love you so much. I love to you and the princess. Oh, that's so sweet. I'll let her know when she gets home. And I love you, and I will see you later. Mwah. And Amala Ashe.